Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company at Watches and Wonders 2025. It's important to note that in an industry where we always hail the watchmakers and engineers are not always one and the same, and more often than not, it's the engineer who decides what the watch will be like and how it will work. Today's featured guest is a legend in the industry. He's worked for everyone. We can't name names, but we can say he built the Harry Winston Opus 10. Jean-Franois Mojon, since 2010, building watches under his own mark, Cyrus. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to be here with you.
Now, this is going to be a lot of fun because our first subject is a watch that was actually announced last year, but it's going to be delivered this year in rose gold, 44 millimeters. Now, this is an 18-piece limited series. You're looking at the Ethereal Twin Orbital Tourbillon, an incredible feat of micromechanical engineering. We're going to talk a little bit about this. How did you come up with this idea? Because I know it has some roots in the work you did with Harry Winston.
There are some roots with Harry Winston Opus 10, with the planetary gear train, for example. But I think in the summary is, in principle, all what we did until now with our experience and know-how to put now in this watch. It's about tourbillon, flying tourbillon, inclined. It's about planetary gear train, jumping hours, and everything is embarked on a platform, turning in 1 hour. That means indicate the minutes, as you see.
And so the interesting thing about this watch is that you've got two independent regulators. So you have twin tourbillon on a carriage. And so the twin tourbillon are oriented at angles relative to each other. And then they have differential between them to average out their timing.
Absolutely. First goal for that is that to drive the energy in two ways with the differential. And that means also that is the average of the rate we get at the end. This is a plus.
And so it's not just an orbital tourbillon and a carousel underneath the tourbillons, but there's actually a jumping hours system. You could jump it using the pusher adjuster over at 9 o'clock if you just want instant gratification or you need to set the watch. Otherwise, it will jump predictably when it passes the station up at 12. And this is a sight to behold. Now, the watch has the now increasingly common and popular glass box style sapphire, but when you turn it over, you can see that the design here is flat, flush, but symmetrical. Talk a little bit about the symmetry of the bridges and how difficult it is to create a symmetrical movement.
The symmetry is first given by the two barrels, the two ratchets, and then really we try to arrange everything, the architecture, to get this symmetry. And at 6 o'clock, you see the power reserve indications with the 72 hours indication, and also with a combination of two discs moving at different speed to get variations in the colors, coming from white to black, and at the end, the red arrows.
So in other words, the power reserve indicator, in addition to moving, will also change color to give you a heightened alert that the power is running down. Now, this twin mainspring barrels, you can tell this is a real manufacturer because the movement is exceptionally large in diameter and it fits this 44 millimeter case perfectly. I think we should probably talk a little bit about the case too. This is a case in rose gold with titanium blades on the side. This was the introduction of an all-new case for Cyrus.
Absolutely. It was already a thinking for 2-3 years ago. What should we do as next for the shape, general shape of the watches? Decided to introduce a round case, but we know that round case is difficult to design with character, strong character, and then we found this shape with the titanium insert that gives really a strong identity, and the feedbacks are really great about this new shape.
And it's easy to wear. You can see I normally can't wear a 44 millimeter watch. This fits just fine. The titanium on rose gold is a unique kind of two-tone, generally an inversion of regular two-tone, where you have a predominance of white metal and then you have a little bit of gold accenting. This is an inversion of that, where the gold dominates, but the titanium, which is intricately detailed, provides a little bit of an offset accenting. There's also a lovely little motif that you'll see underneath the carousel that's actually laser engraved, so there's a lot that goes into this watch. Tell me a little bit about the decoration. How long does it take to apply decoration to these different elements when you make one of these?
You know, this is fine decorating in all the corners. Of course, the tourbillon cage. If you look close to the tourbillon upper cage, you will see that is a very complex geometry that only 5-axle machines can produce. And then per hand fine decorate with anglage, with polishing. The same on the back. Everything is also with manual anglage decorations. For us, this twin orbital tourbillon is like a showcase of what Cyrus is able to produce as innovative product, fine finishing, and talking piece.
And it's interesting because you can see the tri-spoke motif occurs again and again over the barrels with the ratchet wheels, the power reserve indicator, the bridge for the twin discs displaying the hours, and obviously both of the tourbillon. This is what it means to be a manufacturer that designs every part of the watch from start to finish and doesn't have to go out to suppliers to spec parts and settle for someone else's design. So a very coherent, integrated aesthetic. Now, taking this case that debuted last year and moving it into the middle of the product range, something that's maybe a bit more attainable, but has just as much presence. Now we're talking about the Dominion GMT, 42 millimeters, rose gold, titanium. I want to warn you guys, this is a prototype, so it's good, but the finished article will be better. And there will be 25 made like this, with the rose gold and the titanium. There's also a titanium model floating around. You'll see it if you're watching this on the internet, and that's going to be a 28-piece limited edition. Sir, please talk a little bit about creating this GMT movement, because it looks like the movement is one and the same as the dial. The dial and the movement are one.
Okay, there are two parts we can say for the dial. First, the upper bridge of the module, of the GMT module, is fine decorated, also with this palm architecture. And then on top, we have placed a sapphire dial with appliques, and that gives this depth, this 3D effect. We see the different also technical parts from the module. And this is also very practical with a local time in the main, the two hands, hours and minutes in the center, and the retrograde display for the home time.
So you've got a very cool kind of secondary time retrograde, and it's in a 24-hour format. So if you are traveling and you need to know whether it's day or night, someplace you are not, the 24-hour scale really helps. The sapphire over the base plate is a really cool floating effect, as all of the printing sits on top of that. So there's almost the sense that one is suspended over the other, floating in the ether. Now, when you turn it over, you can see this is now an automatic watch, and not every Cyrus is an automatic watch. So you've got a little bit more of the everyday sort of friendly companion that's a little bit smaller. It's a little bit more practical, perhaps, than a double tourbillon. A GMT is very useful. And then you've got a automatic winding system. So as long as you wear this every day, in general, it's going to be set it and forget it simple. But you don't suffer in terms of architecture. You don't suffer in terms of some of the geometries that are applied, as the palm motif is echoed on the bridges of the movement. It's what you see on the dial, but it's also echoed on the movement. And what is the power reserve of this watch, sir?
It's 55 hours.
And
For
so
an automatic is good.
And also because it's got 2 time zones to run, and because retrogrades are basically like super jump hours. They're very power intensive complications. And impressively, this watch is 100 meters water resistant, and I believe it'll be luminescent.
Yes, absolutely.
So
luminescent, 100 meters, waterproof.
And designed to be a very everyday friendly type of Cyrus. And if you want to make it even friendlier, grade 5 titanium is available. So there are 2 options. Now, we talk about what's probably the watch most closely associated with Cyrus, the Klepsis line. Here we have the vertical tourbillon with double retrograde in sapphire. This watch originally launched in 2018, and it has been sort of at the top of the catalog ever since. Tell me a little bit about this sapphire case version in particular. Why go with sapphire?
Was a previous series launched for the 10th anniversary of the brand. We made 10 pieces. It was really a success. And then we decided this year to reintroduce this sapphire model with a blue touch. And sapphire is, of course, that gives an other kind of watch. Is light, is really transparent, and also to know that sapphire case is very, very intensive in terms of hours spent for the production, the polishing, very hard to produce. Limited to 8.
So there'll be 8 pieces here, and it's important to note that there have been versions of this watch with solid dials where you can't see the underlying mechanism. The skeleton versions, and this is one of the skeleton versions, allow you to see the mechanisms that underpin the retrograding minutes and hours plus the vertical tourbillon. And if you're trying to visualize this, the tourbillon turns like a Ferris wheel. It's on its axis, and that allows the watch, when it's, for example, on your desk at night, to cancel out the effects of gravity on the regulating organ. So you have the running seconds at center, the Ferris wheel style tourbillon, then you've got your minutes, you've got your hours, and there's a little ball that is your power reserve indicator up at the top. Now this is twin barrels, you can see that on the back, a 100-hour power reserve, and like Mr. Mojon was saying, sapphire is a very light material, so if you've never held a sapphire watch, what you need to know is it feels almost as light as titanium. So you've got a watch that is simultaneously very transparent to show the movement, very light, and also very, very scratch resistant. It must be incredibly difficult to make a case like this.
It's extremely difficult. That's why also it's a limited edition, limited series. And there are also some scratch during the production. We have then to make more than to get 8 finally.
Yeah, it's very cool. And I have to ask, even though maybe it's not part of today's display, what are you wearing? Let's do a wrist check here.
I'm wearing the first launched watch by Cyrus, is the Klepsys Moon. It was launched in 2010. One also of my favorite because it was the start of the brand.
Very cool. And so you can see this is another big watch, 44, but it wears relatively short across the wrist. And that's the key with a lot of these Cyrus cases. They understand you can make a bigger watch, but not a bigger customer. And so ergonomics is really important. And this is a really comfortable, awesome watch. This is off the chart stuff. So if you're looking at the likes of Urwerk, Grubel Forsey, de Bethune, Cyrus really needs to be on your radar because these watches are absolutely singular. And, you know, again, they're as sporty or as formal as you want them to be. They are as occasional or as routine as you want them to be in your daily life. So, sir, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you too.